and welcome back to GrandOldTeam TV. My name's Adam Partington. First of all, before I start properly, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who watched the first video. Really appreciate it. We've had 2,000 views, I think, which is amazing, and some really good constructive feedback. One of the things you said to me was maybe try and sit down in the next video, Adam. So I took that feedback on board because I'm incredibly lazy, and the opportunity to sit down and talk about Everton seems pretty appealing to me. So I went with that one. Some other feedback you gave me was the lack of Everton orientated kit behind me. So as you can see, we've got the GrandOldTeam website up now, GrandOldTeam.com. Get over to there after you've watched this video and give your thoughts and opinions on Everton. So that's behind me on my laptop. Also got some really old school Everton material there. That's an old picture that my dad gave me from 1969 to 1970, League Champions picture. It's quite cool, I think. It's quite retro. I like that. I've also got a picture of Goodison Park behind me. You probably can't see that because of the size of my head. But I've also got my scarf that I wear to the match in the winter when I'm cold. And then some books to make me look slightly more intelligent. So I've had a good go. And GrandOldTeam are going to be sending some stuff down as well, which is great. I look forward to receiving that so we can make this more and more Everton orientated. But also remember that we are going to try and get out and about with GrandOldTeam TV. I want to speak to more Evertonians, vocal Evertonians from within the Everton community, and also do different types of filming outside the ground and all different types of video content. I'm looking forward to it. It's very exciting. So what has happened since the last time I spoke to you? Well, that was after we'd signed a guy from Aston Villa. Since then, we played Manchester United in the most boring testimonial ever at Old Trafford. What did we take from that game? Well, Everton looked defensively a lot better, I think, a lot more organised. Coman went with 3 at the back, and that seemed to work, so that was good. It was the most mundane testimonial ever, though. It was streamed via Facebook, and they picked potentially the worst game of football to project to the masses that way. Yeah, I think we obviously lacked a bit of cutting edge going forward. That's evidenced by the scoreline, 0-0. I've never heard of a testimonial finishing 0-0 before. Never heard of that. I thought normally, well, the old school way of doing it in testimonial games was you would enforce goals, you would make them happen. You'd do like silly things like, I don't know, we'd play Ken Wright at fullback for like the last 15 minutes just for a laugh. But it seems like testimonials have changed now. Both sides took this one pretty seriously and played 2 decent sides. I think United have had some disruption with regard to their pre-season games, so they took it pretty seriously. And yeah, so there wasn't an abundance that we could really take from it, apart from the fact that we looked a little bit more defensively organised and structured. That was on Wednesday, and then we had the news that Mohamed Besic was ruled out for 6 months, which is sad, because I think, although I've personally got question marks with regards to Mo's footballing ability, I like his character, and I think he's the kind of player that when he fancies it, when he's up for it, he can be a little terror, and I like that. So that's great. With regards to him, well, it's not great. What am I talking about? It's not great. He's out for 6 months. And then, I would have liked to have seen him a hell of a lot more this season. I think we all would have. I think there's a good opportunity for him under Coman. But it's not going to happen now. Well, I mean, 6 months is a long time. I have seen things floating around online that says that he might not be back until right at the end of the campaign, which is depressing for Mohamed Besic, and obviously GrandOldTeam TV. We wish him all the best and a speedy recovery. Another piece of news was apparently Everton have a second bid pending for Swansea centre-half Ashley Williams. Everton just need to go out and get this done now. They just need to pay Swansea what they want, and let's get Ashley Williams out of Swansea, because it's obvious that Everton need him. I think at the moment, if you're a centre-forward and you play Everton, you're not really too concerned about the centre-halves that we have, in terms of, are they gonna ruffle some feathers? Are they going to make life hard for you? I don't think we've got a centre-half like that who really gets in your face and really, causes you all kinds of problems. I think Ashley Williams might be that guy. So I think Everton need to go out and get him. I'm saying this like I'm using my own money to purchase him. If it was my money, I'd have to take a second job or something and try and get this sorted, because it seems like Swansea want a little bit more than we expected to pay originally. But it is what it is. I think we all know that I think the general consensus amongst Evertonians is that we'd like to sign Ashley Williams, and it would be a massive boost if we could get him in this week before Swansea on Saturday, that's for sure. Another piece of news is Tony Hibbert has come out and done an article with the Daily Mail. I say an article, I'm talking nonsense. He's done an interview. He hasn't written the article. He's done an interview with the Daily Mail, and he's slated the club. He's slated the club, and he's really gone to town on the way he was treated. Now, nobody likes the Daily Mail anyway, bar people who read the Daily Mail. But a lot of us, I don't think, particularly like the Daily Mail, and I certainly am not a big fan. So, a little bit disappointed that he's gone to a rag like that to talk about Everton in the way that he has. However, he feels a little bit aggrieved with regards to the way that he was let go by the club. So let's just see quickly what Evertonians on GrandOldTeam.com have been saying about Tony Hibbert. Boss Blue says, whether you're the tea lady, a groundsman, a steward, Tony Hibbert, or Changi the elephant, everyone deserves to be treated with respect by the club that employs them. Tigger goes on to say, poor from the club here. Very surprised at Bill for letting this happen. Don't care how busy we've been. To be fair, I can see what he's saying there. I was a little bit surprised when I heard that they hadn't been told. I kind of thought that, at least if anybody was going to tell Tony Hibbert and Leon Osman, who reportedly found out via, I think, the internet that they'd been released, it would have been Bill Kenwright. But he says, this is Tigger still. He says, what I can't get my head around is why we treated Howard to such a fanfare when no one was that arsed about him. That's brutal. And left out two homegrown lads that gave their all, irrespective of their limited ability. I know what you're saying. I mean, obviously the last game of last season, we made a bit of a fuss of Tim Howard. But let's not pretend and let's not forget that Leon Osman and Tony Hibbert both received testimonials. We made a fuss of them as well. I mean, everybody ran on the pitch for Tony Hibbert. And I remember that night, and that was a great night. So, it's one of them. Look, should Everton have sat down with Tony Hibbert and Leon Osman and Pino, I think he was involved in this, and said, we're not going to extend your contracts next year? Yeah, of course they could. Of course they should. In the case of Tony Hibbert, I mean, they probably would have known that they weren't going to extend Hibbert's contract at Christmas last year. They probably would have known that was gonna happen. So therefore, that would have been down to Martinez. Why didn't Martinez sit down with Tony Hibbert and let him know that was the case? I will also wonder how much Tony Hibbert, Leon Osman, and Stephen Pienaar actually asked the question. I've seen things about Pienaar's agent saying that he asked the club and they weren't that forthcoming with letting him know whether or not Stephen Pienaar would be re-signed. So something strange there. Paul Dean says, jog on Tony, cry me a river, Hibbert. You should count your lucky stars. A team was daft enough to make you a millionaire. Strong from Paul there. Get down to Biggie's Lake and lash yourself in, you carp-catching lizard. Oh, I love the internet. That's fantastic. You carp-catching lizard. What a comment from Paul Dean there. Fantastic. That is quite humorous. So the mixed response, I think, from Evertonians to Tony Hibbert on this one. I think many people argue that he shouldn't have ever really got another contract when he signed the last one, but that happened. Then yesterday, Everton played Espanyol in a friendly at Goodison, which was extremely tedious. Everton lost 1-0, and I'm just thinking about the goalkeeper for a second. Is Stecklenburg going to be the number one now for the coming season? Was Joel injured yesterday? I'm not too sure on that. I would ideally like us to go and sign someone like Begovic. Obviously, whether or not we could get him is just a different story there. But if not, then is Stecklenburg going to be number one? I'm not too sure. Lukaku went off injured. That was disappointing and a concern, obviously, this close to the start of the season. And it just highlights how thin on the ground we are. It really does. And then Idrissa Guy played quite well as well and give away a penalty, but I think he was pretty impressive, as was Tom Davies again when he came on. And that lad is going to be an incredible footballer. But what again of Evertonians said on Grand Old Team, while Super Kevin Sheedy says, bad performance today, next Saturday has got to be quite the opposite. Strong words and a few decent signings by Ronnie and co before then. Blue says, last season we did not have a clue how to defend, but we were good with regards to attacking. That is half truth. We were always shocking at the back, Blue. However, I think we're okay going forward, obviously at the start of last season, but then that kind of went south a little bit in the second half of last season. If you remember rightly, we weren't that good going forward. We weren't that good defensively, which is hence why we had so many poor results last year. But I do see what you're saying. We don't have a clue how to be creative and attack. It's so obvious why the manager wants to sign Witsel. What's the latest on that? Are we going to sign this kid or not? Are we actually in for him? It'd be great to know. I mean, obviously, we'd all like to sign someone like that. I think it would be a... I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert on Witsel. I've only really seen him in the odds. Well, obviously in major European tournaments, international tournaments, and the odd glimpse of him, on various Champions League programs. I think I've not seen a copious amount of him. That's what I'm going to say. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know a lot about him, but I do. Obviously, he's quite highly sought after and well regarded across the continent, so it'd be good obviously to sign a player like that just because of the name and the boost that it would give to us Evertonians, I think, going into the new season. Blue continues and says, I have seen all the forecasts of doom regarding Spurs next week and I don't agree with them. I think it would be very tightly, closely contested, and for me has draw written all over it. So I think that will probably be the prediction for next week. I agree with him there. I can see a draw as well. Unless Everton can bring in some players this week and give us all a boost. I think it'd give the players a boost as well if they see some new faces. They must be acutely aware of the lack of depth in the squad. And then Blue Toff says, overall, a poor display. We seem to lack any guile going forward, and it's evident what we're missing. But it will be brought in of that, I'm sure. So there's some thoughts from Evertonians there. The last guy, obviously quite confident that we can bring in some players before Saturday. I'm, relatively confident as well that something can happen this week, but Everton have left it extremely late. But again, what are your thoughts? Get over to GrandOldTeam.com and get involved in the forum. Also, do what you need to do with this video. We really appreciate you sharing it and giving us any feedback that you've got. If you want to drop me a line and say you could do this better, you could do that better, or you're just a really, really, really bad wool, then that is fine. I'll accept any form of feedback that I get. So appreciate it. Thank you again for watching. You can get me on Twitter at @PartAdam. This is GrandOldTeamTV. Speak to you soon.